Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the 1948 Mercury pickup. If you're new here, I'm Zach. Thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to Wilson Builds. If you saw the title to today's video, it's a very exciting day because we're going to be able to put a motor and a transmission and get them mocked up into the Mercury, which is huge. I'm actually surprised I'm saying that, but it's happening today. So there's a couple things we need to do before that's done. We have to cut out this really poor example of a motor mount that's in here already. I'll show you guys that in a sec. And also take out a very butchered transmission mount. So that being said, I spent the better part of yesterday, so Saturday, putting together our little 283 Chevy for this thing. Yes, I said there's a Chevy motor going into a Mercury. I'm sorry, but that's all I had and that's all I like to work on. So that's what we're doing. Anyways, guys, I didn't want to make it all about building the motor and putting the motor together, so I did a little time lapse. I might add that in, I might not. The motor's looking pretty cool. I think it will look really good in this engine bay, so hopefully we can get it all in today so we can see a final product by the end of this video. That being said, I think I'm ready to start cutting this stuff out. I have the Roadster covered with some plastic and can't wait to be in an engine bay grinding and getting dust everywhere. Anyways, let's get into the video. Okay, so here is our very homemade motor mount that we're going to be pulling out today. Now, obviously, yes, it's not up to what we want in this truck, but it was a functioning motor mount. There was a motor in here. It wasn't a running and driving truck at one point. So whoever built this, you know, mission accomplished. They built with what they had and what they thought was good. And there was a motor in here, so, you know, you can talk smack about how it looks, but it was functioning. I mean, it was a running and driving truck at one point. So thumbs up to them for getting it working. And obviously they torched the cross member out where the transmission goes as well to get another transmission in there. And again, it worked. This was a running and driving truck. So kudos to them, mission accomplished. But I don't like this. I mean, I want to do something a little bit cleaner, and that's, you know, it's my truck now. So it is what it is. So we're going to be cutting these out. We're going to start up here, cut that out. There's welds here as well. So we're going to probably cut this out first, then cut those welds. There's some welds down here we're going to need to cut out. And again, on the other side. And then the rear is a bit of a different story. We'll have to figure that out as we go. But let's get this guy out, and then we'll assess the rear one. Okay. Let's get to cutting. All right, so they are out. And as you can see, this is, whoa. All right, that's been in there for a while. A little bit more gnarly looking at it in the light, but again, it did its job. And then this is pretty interesting. Yeah, so those will make their way to our junk pile, but now we can start focusing on getting the engine in. Well, this is a pretty cool picture. Me sitting beside the motor, sitting beside the truck is going into. And now that we have our cross members, both our engine mount cross member and our transmission mount cross member cut out, we can start putting our own stuff in. I'll be using this motor mount system from LG Speed and Kustom. I believe it's called an LG 88 mount. I'll put it right there for you guys, and I'll leave a link in the description below if you're interested in buying these. Fantastic motor mounts. I swear by these. I use one on the Roadster. They are so easy to put on and so easy to use. I've used a lot of other motor mount systems, but this is by far the best. So I'm going to bolt this to our motor now, and then we'll get our motor on our crane and place it in here for the first time. All right guys, so our goal now is to get this thing off the engine stand and onto the crane. Well, I guess we'll attach it to the crane first before we take it off the engine stand, because that would just be wrong if we took it off the engine. It would just, anyways, doesn't matter. We'll get it on the crane, lower it to the ground, bolt our transmission in, maneuver it into the engine bay. Hopefully we don't have to take this front bumper off, because that'd be a waste of time, because it probably wouldn't come off that easy. And then see how it fits the best. Obviously we have a height because we have to run off the engine mount, so that's fine. But we'll have to do the angle and see if we can get as close to the firewall as we can without it making it impossible to access the distributor. So a couple little variables we have to look out for, but overall should be pretty easy. So let's get the crane up and then get the transmission in and then scoot it in there. There it is. Our motor is in basically the spot it needs to be. We have to play with side to side and do some more measuring, but I believe we're ready to go. I cut out these boxing plates so we can actually have something to weld our motor mounts to, so that's exciting. Our engine angle is sitting at 87.3, so that's 2.7 degrees, which is really good, about the same as the rear end, which is 3, and we can still play with that a little bit as I have the jack underneath the transmission. We have good gap between our header and our steering box, so that's also really good. And everything else is looking really decent. Clearance wise, firewall to distributor is good. I put this piece of tape obviously to mimic where our radiator will be, and that's a good gap. So I think we're ready to start prepping these rails and start tacking in our boxing plates. All right, now that we have our boxing plates in there, it gives us a bit better of a foundation to measure from side to side and make sure our motor is centered. So we're gonna go from the eye of the harmonic balancer down here and go from side to side and see where we're at. So that's 13.5 and 13.5. So the motor is actually surprisingly centered, so that's really good. I think if we can get our motor mounts in a spot where they're going to be good, we could start tacking our motor mounts to our boxing plates now. So just trying to think. I think we should put a couple more tacks in our boxing plates, and then, yeah, go ahead and do our motor mounts. All right, now that the motor's basically locked in where we want it, the engine mounts are where we want it, they're all tacked in, we can go ahead and start working on the transmission cross member. So I'm gonna whip that up right now. I'll run you through kind of what I'm thinking, but filming underneath there is challenging, so I might have to just show you guys the finished product when we're finished. So yeah, I have some bits and pieces, so let's put it together and see what we can come up with. All right guys, here is our transmission cross member. So simply, it just bolts to the bottom of the frame, 2 bolts here, 2 bolts on this side, and then 2 bolts for our transmission rubber mount. And just makes life way easier if you have to drop the transmission. I forget which vehicle I had that I needed to drop the transmission, but the transmission cross member did not come out, and it was a huge pain. So ever since then, on the Roadster, on my 55, and now on this, I've done removable transmission cross members because it just makes it so much easier. So I'm gonna go put this in, and bolt it up, and then we don't have to be under the truck anymore. And then we can get back to welding and looking at our motor mounts. So let me bolt this in and I'll be right back. All right guys, now that our transmission cross member is in, the jack is out, it's all bolted in, it's under its own weight. I have no issues with that back there. I'm going to do a little bit more welding on the motor mounts and our box plates that we put in, just to give it a little bit more strength, so we can take this guy away and we can pull this out, basically look at everything, do some measurements, I guess. I don't know what else there is to measure. And then, yeah, essentially pull the motor out, finish weld, and call it a day. All right, it is in there without the crane, without any assistance, just the motor mount and the transmission mount. The angle is 87.2, which is great. That is 2.8. So close enough to 3 as the rear end is. And everything's looking really good. So now we'll re-pull the motor and take the motor mounts out from the 2 rubber mounts. And we'll finish weld all these, finish weld the mount, finish weld the backing plate, etc. And I don't know if we're going to put the motor back in today because we're going to go run it at Gas Classics, but hey, there it is. Now that the motor's out, we can finish welding our box plates and our engine mounts. And then I guess we'll see what else we have to do. I might start painting a little bit. The frame rails and the rad support and our inner fenders. I don't know about the firewall yet because there is a lot of holes on this firewall that don't need to be there. So we might be filling a lot of them, and that's okay. It'll just look nice. I'd like the engine bay to actually look nice. I might paint the top of the hood, definitely paint the sides, but just make it look nice. When you pop the hood, you see a fresh motor, and it looks nice. Nothing wrong with that. But before we get over, I don't even know what I was going to say. Before we get too busy with thinking about everything else, let's get these welded in. So now that we have all the motor mounts welded in the frame and everything is kind of where I want it, we're going to take this down to Gas Classics here in Victoria, British Columbia, and we're going to put it on their run stand and be able to kind of figure it out a little bit, you know, adjust timing, get it running decently, so then we can just put it in there and it's painless. Don't have to worry about starting it for the first time in the truck, and we can kind of work out, you know, all the little issues it may have or it may not have. So I'm going to load this into the truck now, and we're going to head down to gas. All right, motor is loaded. We can head down to Gas Classics now. Luckily, it's only about 5 minutes from my house, so this shouldn't take too long. gas. We got the motor basically ready to go now. I had to add a couple things, but good thing they sell everything that we can just put on it. So we're going to have to find top dead center, start working with our distributor, put a belt on, put some headers on, and might have to adjust the motor backwards a little bit. But other than that, I mean, we'll be priming it, putting oil in it very shortly. So that's exciting. And then we can see if it runs. Just so they can see you work. She can basically just show how Matt, you know, he actually works. All my drills start smoking when I do that. So motor is broken in. We did the 20-minute break-in for the new cam and lifters. It ran really good. We got a really decent base timing on it. We might come back tomorrow and time in a little bit more. But other than that, it's getting pretty late. So I'm gonna leave the motor here overnight and come pick it up tomorrow. And then hopefully we can put it in the truck for good. And yeah, basically that's gonna be a big step for getting the Mercury done. Special thanks to Matt, Max, and Dustin at Gas Classics for helping me do this, especially after hours. It really, you know, was a really nice gesture of Gas Classics, making sure my motor is running, and they followed through. So huge thanks to Gas Classics and everybody here. And yeah, I'm gonna continue cleaning this because I want to go home. And we'll see you guys probably tomorrow when we're putting this thing back in. Alright guys, as you can see, the motor is back from Gas Classics and it is ready to go into the truck. We have our initial timing, we have our total timing. We have to put a thermostat in, we have to dent a header to clear the steering box a little bit more, just peace of mind really. We have to paint the firewall and we have to paint the transmission pan because it's a little scraped from dragging the transmission around the shop. However, the motor is sound, it runs great. We did the break-in like I said. Huge shout out to the whole staff at Gas Classics for allowing me to take up a little bay in their shop, get it all set up on the run stand, and then the boys came out and got this thing running really, really good. So big shout out to Matt, Max, and Dustin again. And of course Zoe for letting me use her tools and being really courteous, sharing a space with me. So that was amazing. I can't say enough good things about Gas Classics. If you're in or around Victoria or Vancouver Island, go check them out. They are hands down one of the best shops on the island, in my opinion. Best deals, everything like that. And they actually care about your car, your motor, anything hot rod related. And it shows. I mean, this was after hours and I didn't ask them to stay after hours. I told them I would come back on Monday and they were so stoked to get this thing going that they stayed a little late and helped me get it going. So huge shout out again to Gas Classics. I can't thank them enough. But anyways, let's get into painting the firewall. I'm gonna get the transmission pan painted and then we'll put the motor in tomorrow. As you can see, I just did some basic masking and covered a few things. We're not gonna go too heavy with this paint, so we just want a good coat on everything. I'm not prepping all the little dents and stuff either, because I want this to have a little bit of age and stuff in it. Obviously, if there's a really bad spot, we could probably come back in and make it a little prettier, but I think we'll be okay. This is pretty thick paint. All right, guys, it's time, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but let's put the 283 back in the Mercury. We have to take it off the stand, join it with the transmission, and then put it back in the truck. Fingers crossed for the final time. All right, I'm really excited how it's looking. We never had the carb or the air cleaner on before, so it kind of completes the engine look. There's a couple things we have to deal with. When I mocked the motor up at the beginning of the video, I didn't do it with spark plugs. Note to self for future, and any of you guys watching, if you're mocking up a motor, mock it with spark plugs, because the rear left driver's side spark plug on my motor is like millimeters away from the steering box. So we're gonna have to make a little bit of a spacer for the engine mount and the transmission mount that raises it just a little bit. It would probably be fine how it is right now. However, for peace of mind, I'm just gonna do the spacer. It's not that big of a deal. It needs to go up like just a tad to get it to clear. And that will allow us to actually run our headers without denting the header to clear the steering box as well. So it's kind of a win-win. That being said, the last thing I want to do in this video is put the grill back on, so fingers crossed it's not a pain in the butt, and it'll just kind of give the truck a more complete look, and I'm really excited how it might turn out. So again, hopefully it's not a pain. Let's get it on. Well, I haven't shot that for a really long time, and this is the most complete the truck's been in many months. So this is really cool. I'm really excited. I mean, having the grill and having the hood latch is just an added bonus to this video, because the motor was our main goal, and I feel like we exceeded kind of where we were going. I thought we were gonna have some issues with the motor as it sat for 15 years, but we got it running and it ran really good. So I'm super stoked that's back in. It fits, everything is working, and we can move on from here. Again, shout out to Gas Classics for not only getting the motor running really good, but for also supplying all the pieces to make it look pretty. And shout out to Powerhouse Precision Motors in Keating for hooking me up with a cam and lifters. That was also really huge, and I really appreciate all the help. But I'm stoked. I'm gonna call the video there because we exceeded what I wanted to get done today. And hopefully you guys liked the video. If you did, please drop me a like and a comment. And obviously hit that subscribe button if you like what you see, because we do this a lot on this channel. And notifications. Hit that notifications button, because I get a lot of people messaging me, when are you uploading? So if you hit the notifications button, you'll know when we're uploading. I know it's corny to say, but here we are. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next video of Wilson Builds.